Hi, I'm Jeff Dobkin. Give you a little bit of background before I start my actual presentation. I have a couple websites that I can recommend. One is, whoops, you okay there? Now let's start again. Okay. All right. Hi, I'm Jeff Dobkin, and I'll give you a little bit of my background before I start my presentation. I've been on the board of directors of the American Society of Inventors for 15 years and the president for 4. And so the presentation I'm going to share with you today is what I've learned in my 15 years on the board of directors of the American Society of Inventors.org, in case you want to go there. My own personal website, jeffreydobkin.com. It's 240 pages of tips and techniques on marketing. And the American Society of Inventors.org is a helpful website on inventing. My braininjuryfoundation.org is another website of mine where I've spent thousands of hours of researching into brain injury. And I hope you look at that, and I'll show you how to save lives. So I'd like to start going over this. I've been sober for 58 days. Sorry about that. It's the wrong speech. Now all the alcoholics can relate to me. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm a drunk. Alcoholics go to meetings. I go to parties. So I wanted to thank iCAN for having me do this presentation, and I hope that it helps all the inventors. When they said, what do you want for speaking, I said an overhead projector, and so I hope somebody can help me get the one that I'm using into my car. I'm 64 years old. I speak from notes because I don't want to miss any of the tips and techniques that I will be going over for inventors. I'm 64 years old. I accept my middle age. I'm not saying that I'm old, but this presentation initially came out on 8-track. I have 3 great kids, and that's not just my opinion, it's theirs. And I can speak for any length, but you'll be going home after about an hour. So I'm going to limit my speech. I've written 7 books, mostly on, by now, mostly on marketing and direct marketing, and how to market a product for under $500, direct marketing techniques. You can find them all on my website, jeffreydobkin.com. And I hope you go there in the bookstore and maybe buy some of the stuff. If you like my presentation and you email me, I've been known to give away books on occasion through the mail. I had a direct marketing firm that I had for a number of years. I had about a dozen employees, and I learned what I liked and what I didn't like, and what I didn't like is having employees. So, and I have experience in direct mail. And experience is when you put 40,000 pieces of mail into the mail stream and you don't get a response, you get experience. I'm a traditional writer and a direct marketer, and that's the basis from which all the inventor stuff comes from. And yes, I also do marketing and sales counseling and consulting. There are 3 directions that you can go through for ideas. One is you can manufacture.
Maybe start again from there are 3 ideas. But cut out the ums.
Okay.
If possible. There, you know.
I will try and do that.
Yeah, you can try.
There are 3 directions for the ideas that you have.
Smile a little more. 3 directions again.
There are 3 directions that you can have for any of the ideas that you have. One is manufacture it and market it yourself, and that entails starting a small business and running a small business. And 2 is to license it. 3 is you can do nothing, or you can make a couple of product samples for your friends and just enjoy that. Here are some tips for people that want to actually move their product forward. First, keep in mind an idea is not a product. A product takes about 2 years working by yourself to bring to the marketplace when you work by yourself and have limited amount of money. You can make that faster by adding money, or you can have a lot of employees, and that will help you speed up the process. I can tell you how to tell if your product is going to sell, and this is, in 15 years, this is the only way I've ever found out how you can sell your product with certainty, and that is sell one. Tell people, hey, I have one of these in the car, and would you like to buy it? And if they pull out their wallet, then you can consider it a sale. If they don't pull out their wallet and they say it sounds like a good idea, and maybe later, then you were not successful in selling it, and maybe your idea won't sell. What you're probably going to need is a prototype. And there are 3 different types of prototypes. One is called the proof of concept, and I call it the Home Depot special. Because you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's or any of the hardware stores, and you can make one from parts that you cobble up from one of these giant box stores. And that means putting it together and having a working model, so you're sure that it works. Otherwise, you may not be sure that it works. The next type of prototype is a professional prototype, and here you can make it yourself using materials that will be similar in the finality of making your product. And that is something that you can be proud of and to show people and say, this is what it's going to look like, and these are the product qualities that it has. So something that you can take around and demonstrate. The third type of prototype is called a manufacturing prototype, and that is the specifics of how your product is going to be manufactured. So if you have a screw, the screw length, if you have plastic pieces, how they're going to cut and fit together, and all the specifications that you need to have your product manufactured and assembled for sale. You're probably going to need several prototypes to send around to show people and to see the evaluation that your product is going to get, especially if you license it. I'd like to talk to you a minute about patents, because every person that came in for an evaluation at the American Society of Inventors has asked, do I need a patent? And my answer is generally no. I generally do not recommend a patent. A patent is expensive, starting out at $5,000, but more likely going to cost you $10,000. And we've had people that came in and said, I had $10,000 to invest in marketing, but we spent it on a patent. Now what can we do? The answer is, you already spent all that money in patenting it, and now you have no money for marketing. There's really not much you can do, unless you come up with some kind of other budget. So a patent, I think you need to remember this, and it's probably one of the most important things that I will say in this whole presentation, is a patent does not protect you. A patent gives you the right to protect yourself. So there's a big difference there. I've also seen that a sheet of paper will not stop a crook. So if you have a piece of paper that says a patent, there's no guarantee that it will stop anybody from making and manufacturing and marketing your product. If you want to sue somebody and you have a patent, then that's going to be a litigation cost. And it's going to probably be pretty expensive, depending on who made your product. Take an example of a TV marketer. Some of them are great. Some of them, they see your idea and they like it, they'll just do it. Patent, no patent, doesn't matter to them. They have a legal team and they will deal with that on the back end. Meanwhile, they'll make the product, they'll manufacture it, and they'll sell it and make all the profits. Somewhere down the line, if you sue them, and if your product suit is successful, then they'll stop. They'll say, oh, I didn't know that we intruded on your patent, and here you can have it back. And they'll be laughing all the way to the bank. So out of all the people that I've seen and the inventions that we've analyzed at the American Society of Inventors, I think I only recommended a patent to probably 1% to 2% of the people who showed us their ideas. So people would come in and we would sign a non-disclosure agreement, and all of us on the board were honest. And they would expose their idea to us, and most of them I did not recommend the patent to. It would just be an additional expense. So if you're thinking about, oh, if I have a patent, it'll protect me and it'll be great and that's the road to money, it may not be. So if you're having a licensing deal, a patent may give you some type of protection. But you have to remember, when somebody writes up your patent, it's to defend this. It's the claims that you put in your patent that go to the patent court. So if you have a lot of claims, and if they're if somebody can prosecute on those claims, then you may be able to have a patent that has value. If you have vague claims and nobody can really prosecute against someone who comes in and infringes on your patent, the patent may not be worth anything. So it all depends on the claims that are written there. If you're licensing, a lot of people say licensing is so easy, and it just seems like I'm going to give my product to somebody and they're just going to send me money. In reality, I've never seen that happen ever. It's not that easy. First, you have to find people that like your idea, so it means you have to disclose your idea to everyone, and that can be a little touchy. Bigger firms are going to have a submission guideline, and if you submit to them, they want you to sign all their forms. Most of the forms are going to say, hey, we realize that you may have a great product, but your only protection is the ones you get from your patent. And that doesn't work for me, because they're telling you that your patent is the only right you have, and if they can find a way around your patent, they'll feel free to market and manufacture your product themselves, and they'll sleep well at night because they already gave you that warning. In reality, they don't have to tell you that your rights are ones that your patent holds, because you paid for those, and those are your patented rights. So nobody has to tell you that. You already have that. Markup on a product is 5 times what it costs to manufacture. So I've had people come into the American Society of Inventors and say, oh, well, here's a product, it cost me $10 to manufacture and I want to sell it for $19.95. That really doesn't work. I mean, it works if you're going to sell a couple through your website, but once you get a distributor involved, they take 33%. If you want to go through retailers, they take 50%. Some of them want to take even more than that. So if you have a product, the way it works is, suppose you have a product and it costs $10 to manufacture. Suppose it costs $7 to manufacture, and you need to make money on it. You're going to sell it for $10, so you'll make $3. Then you'll sell it for $10 to a distributor. A distributor will mark it up to $13 and sell it to a retailer, and the retailer will buy it for $13 and then sell it for $26, and then they'll mark it down to $24.95 and put it on sale for $19.95. That's the way retail distribution works. Before you do any of that, there's a key term that I use in evaluating all the inventions that I've evaluated, and that is, does it have commercial feasibility? And that means, can you sell it and make a profit? Because there are a lot of great ideas out there, but if you can't sell them and make a profit on them, it's not a commercially feasible product. So you just have to look and say, is this really feasible to sell? Can I make money on it? One of the best things about Amazon is you can go to Amazon and see all your competition and what they sell products for. So if you have a product in, say, the bathroom mirror classification, you can go and see 50 other manufacturers of bathroom mirrors, and if yours is priced out at $100 and they're all selling theirs for $29.95, your sale's going to be pretty tough. So I would say that yours is not going to be commercially feasible to sell to a ready-made marketplace. For a licensing tip, there is one question above all, and this is another key issue in this presentation that you should probably write down, because that way you'll remember it. So I'll wait till you get a pen or a pencil. Okay, got that pen or pencil? The licensing tip is the one question that you ask somebody when they say, we want your product. You can say, what is your budget for selling this product? Nobody can tell you how much sales they're going to have in the product, so you can't license it and say, what do you think your sales are going to be? Because you can predict anything but the future. But they will have to have some kind of a budget that they know of to market your product. If they say our budget is going to be $2,000, that's not that much budget, and you're not going to have much sales. In other words, if they have a bigger budget, you're going to realize some sales. And some firms, smaller firms, may say, well, we're going to invest $10,000 and see if we can do it, sell your product for that. Other firms may say, we have $100,000 and we're going to invest that and try and get your sales up to $500,000 in sales. So what they actually make in sales is going to be determined by the budget that they set. And while they're not going to know the final outcome, they will know the budget that they're setting. You can ask, what are your sales goals? And that is a fair question to ask, because that is going to loosely define their budget. If their sales goal is 2 million units for, in the first year, then they're going to have a pretty big budget to reach that goal. If they have a goal of 25 units in the first year, then they're not going to have much of a budget they're sinking into it. If you want to find out what companies to present your product to, I would look in the Thomas's Register of Companies. I got that exact name right? Thomas Directory of Manufacturers. It's a directory of all the manufacturers in the United States, which is probably one of your biggest markets. And in there also has distributors. So you can look and see who has similar products, because that would be one of the targets that I would address when I'm licensing something, because they already have the distribution. They already know the industry. They already know who they're selling to, and they already have people that are buying the products on a regular basis. So I would go there first. And that is, again, the Thomas's Directory of Manufacturers. If you're going to market a product yourself, you have to ask yourself, what's your budget? And that's not just a monetary budget, but also how much time and effort are you going to put into this product? I mean, are you going to spend all day trying to market it? Are you going to put in a couple hours a week? I mean, those are all considerations of what you're going to invest. Have you done a patent search? And I recommend that you do your own patent search, because you can find all the patents online, and you can query the patent office in dozens of different ways. And there's even some AI programs that will show you how to query the patents, the patent board, and the USPTO, and it'll give you all the patents that have the key names that you've named in your query. So you may have, if you were going to patent your new washing board, then you type in washing board and it'll show you all the patents for people that have washing board patents. It's a pretty interesting use of artificial intelligence. You have to know what industries you're going to market your product to. It's always a question of how many different industries, how related are they, because every industry takes its own budget and its own marketing toll on what you're going to do. So if you're selling a camera bag, you can sell it to the camera industry, you can sell it to the travel industry, you can sell it to the suitcase industry, you can sell it at wholesale, you can sell it at retail. And it's just kind of an endless list of where you can market your products to. So you should have some kind of a definition of where it's going to go best and where you're going to have the most immediate sales. You have to remember, if you have a product that's going to go in a big box store like Lowe's or Home Depot, if you put it in their store, it's going to sit on a shelf with a product to the right of it, a product to the left of it, and a product above it, and one below it. So how much exposure is your product going to have, and how readily are people going to see it, and how readily are people going to buy it? Because it's going to have to sell itself, because you're not going to be there pitching it. So, and that's an important consideration. Also, the box stores, you say, oh, if I got into Home Depot, they have thousands of stores and they're going to buy thousands of product. Maybe, but not up front. Up front, they're going to test your product in 2 or 3 stores and see if it sells. So if you're looking for a home run for Lowe's or Home Depot or any of the big chain stores, not happening right away. But most of them will test your product with a couple of stores and see if sales go well. Same holds true for Target and Walmart. If they buy, they have the capacity to buy in big quantities, but they're not going to start out with an opening order like that. You have to know your own field of expertise. You know, what are you good at and where are your strengths? I've talked to entrepreneurs and product developers and innovators and idea people, and some are very strong on the phone. They love phone selling. Some are very strong in mail. That's what I was. I was very strong in the printed form. But everybody has their own expertise. So you have to figure out that, and that's where your strength is going to be. You also should figure out what your next 10 steps are going to be, because if you don't know that, how are you going to market your product? You should figure out how much it will cost at retail. And you're going to have competition. And again, go to Amazon, Target, Walmart, and see what the competition is. And you can price your product accordingly. How much will it cost to make? Because that's got to be in line with what you can sell it for. And how much will you make per sale? Has it ever been field tested? Do you know the parameters of what this is going to do? Have you researched the product on the web? How many other firms make one that's similar? Will yours be better, cheaper, faster? Have to figure that out, because if you just market one that is the same as everybody else's, why would people buy yours? Who are the most likely people to buy one? You should know your market so you can figure out how to reach them. The first place I always look for sales is the catalog industry. And because if you hit a home run there, some catalogs, Pro Bass shops, they send out 60 million catalogs a year. So you can imagine if you're in one of those, you can strike a home run, and you can do that fairly fast. What they'll do is, like the big box stores, is they'll put it in a few test catalogs and with a smaller run, and that's the way they'll start out. So they may put your product in a run of 20 or 30,000 of their catalogs and see if it sells. And then if it sells, they'll put it in 100,000, and if it sells there, they'll put it in 200,000 and keep going up as long as your product sells well. What's your product name? And this is an important step, because you really do need a great name, and you need to be able to get that website with your product name on it. So I had a problem with one of the products that I marketed and manufactured. I have great passion for the motorcycle industry, and I manufactured and marketed a motorcycle alarm, and I called it Motorcycle Alarm, Micro Alarm. So it was a motorcycle alarm from Motorcycle Micro Alarms System. It was a very clunky name, and I think that held me back in my marketing. I wrote an article, and you're welcome to send me an email, jeffdobkin@gmail.com, and ask me for any of the articles that I mention here. One of the articles are 17 tough questions for a patent attorney, because there are some patent attorneys that are great, there are some patent attorneys that aren't great, and you don't know which ones up front, but you'll find out really fast when you get the first couple of bills. So, and I would advise getting this if you're thinking about a patent and asking these questions. There are different types of patents that you can get. You can get a provisional patent, which is not really a patent, but it is showing from the USPTO, the U.S. patent office, it's a proof of concept of the date of your idea. And it's good for 1 year. But if you don't file a patent within that 1 year, then you lose your right to file a patent. So, but it is a cheap form of, not really a patent, but it's a cheap form of disclosure of your idea, and it does proof of date. You can get a utility patent, which is how your product works, and that's the most common and also the most expensive. And I do recommend that you get a good patent attorney and shop around, because they're all different. They're the ones that write the claims. Some write great claims, some write awful claims, and if you get a patent attorney that writes awful claims, then you're going to have an awful time defending them in court or pursuing somebody that has stepped on your claims. You can have both broad and narrow claims. If you have broad claims, they may be fairly worthless, but they may be a better part of a patent because it excludes so many people. If you have very narrow claims, they may not be that good because they're narrowly defined. People really have to work within those parameters so that you can cite them for a violation of your patent. I'll give you an example of this. The first person that invented a curtain bar that had a curve on it, he said, this is a curtain bar that has a 3-inch bow in it, so it'll give you a little more room in the shower. And he patented that. So the next guy said, hey, we have a shower curtain that has a 4-inch curve in it. So it was not affected by the 3-inch curve of the first patent. So it would have been much wiser if the patent attorney said, we have a bow in a shower curtain extending anywhere from 1 inch to 6 inches. That would have been the way to write that patent, but not every patent attorney knows that. To learn marketing, I would get all the magazines that you can possibly get, the trade journals, and get association newsletters. If you're not sure where to get them, there's some books in the library. They're probably online now. But Cision, Directory of Periodicals, Media Directory from SRDS. There's Bacon's Directory of magazines. And you can look in these magazines, find the markets that you want. They're pretty easy to work. Within an hour, you can find all the magazines that go to the markets that you're trying to market to. And you can get all the magazines. So the way you get them is I would call up and I would ask the magazine publisher, can I get a sample copy? They're free, even the paid magazines. Don't pay any attention to that. Just ask for a sample copy because you're thinking about taking an ad in that magazine, and everybody will send you their magazine for free. And when you get the magazine, they usually have reader service cards in there, also called bingo cards. And I would fill that out and send it in, and chances are you'll get a free subscription to it. At one point, when I had a lot of clients, I was getting about 125 magazines a month. So I could see all the things that were coming out in the markets that my clients were marketing to. That's what it takes to market. Also, you can get association newsletters. If you want to write, if you're going to license your product, you need to supply a good contract. And I recommend Harvey Reese's book, How to License Your $1 Million Idea. No, Harvey didn't pay me for this. I just believe in the contract that he's written is really pretty great. It's kind of bulletproof. Harvey was a invention developer, and so he's written a lot of contracts. His contract is pretty bulletproof, and his book is pretty good. How to License Your $1 Million Idea by Harvey Reese. When you're a small manufacturer, and you need to start advertising to see if your product will be good, you think you want to take out an ad in a magazine, then what I recommend is you call up the magazine and you ask for a deal, because most magazines will negotiate. So if you say, I want to take out an ad, they'll say, well, we have a 3-ad rate. So you can say, hey, great, 3-ad rate. Don't take out an ad in January, February, and March. or any 3 consecutive months, because what will happen is your first ad will break, and if you don't get any sales from your first ad, the other 2 ads are going to sink. And every magazine publisher I've ever spoken to, and there's a ton of them, have all recommended, oh, your ad needs to be seen 3 times to have any results. Well, if your first one doesn't work, the second and third one ain't going to work either. So I don't believe that theory. So what I would do, and this is a key part of marketing, is if you want to take out the 3-time rate for an ad, then take out an ad in, say, January, and then book the next ad 3 or 4 months down the line. And that way you'll have the time to cancel your contract. After the first one, if it doesn't work, call them up and say, hey, I realize I got the 3-time rate. I'll have to pay the difference between the 3-time rate and the 1-time rate, but I really can't use the other 2 ads. And they'll cancel the other 2 ads. So you only have to pay for 1. On the other hand, if your ad is successful and you sell a lot of product through it, then you can call them up and say, hey, I want to be in the next available issue. And the magazine publishers will try the best they can to get you in every succeeding issue. So they'll really push for you, because that's their source of revenue. So they will work with you to get more ads in. They won't work with you as much to take an ad out. So I recommend that. Space that out. So I need a break.
Mm-hmm.
How's it sounding?
Sounds good. Probably that was 38 minutes.
So I just wanted to give you another couple ideas and thoughts. I know I'm starting to drone on now. I don't even want to hear me. So I'll start wrapping it up. I will say that what doesn't work is if you look at a market and say, if I just get 1% of this market, I'll be a rich man. That doesn't work, because otherwise everybody that was marketing to the automotive industry would be rich, because there's 1 billion cars out there. So that doesn't work. I also wanted to mention a lot of invention marketing firms. Most of them are the bad guys. So if you see their stuff on TV, you have to thoroughly check them out. Here's what they do. First they want you to come into their office. So, because they can't extract your wallet from over the phone. So they want you to come into the office, and they don't want your product, but they do want your cash. So you go into the office and they say, okay, here, we'll sign a secrecy agreement so we can't steal your idea. And that builds trust with inventors. And then they'll say, now you can tell me your idea, and you disclose the idea, and they're like, wow, this is a great idea. Holy smokes, this is too big for me to handle. I'm going to call Jeff from upstairs and have him take a look at this. They call Jeff. He's the vice president. You show him your idea, and he says, oh my God, this is so great. I've never heard of something that makes toast out of white bread. This is really phenomenal. So I think you should really move this forward. And we'll get you a patent, and we'll start marketing. Of course, there's some marketing costs. I mean, first it's going to be $1,300 for a booklet. Then we're going to introduce you to industry. That's another $4,000. Then it's going to be another $9,000 for us to bring your product to fruition. And that's what they do. So you just have to be aware that a lot of these guys, a lot of these firms they're the bad guys. So you need to get a good evaluation on your product. That's what we did at the American Society of Inventors. We had a board of directors. Myself, I was the marketing guy and the contract analyst. And we told people what we thought, because none of us made any money from the ideas or the patents or non-patents or any of the inventors. So we had nothing to lose by telling you your idea wasn't that great. Well, I have a lot of other things. I've just touched the surface. I have an article, 10 questions for inventors, that you can feel free to request. I have an article, Submitting Your Invention, which is actually pretty good. It's about 9 pages. I'd be happy to send you some of the stuff that I've written. Please go to my website, jeffreydobkin.com, and click the Inventors link. There's a lot of helpful articles there think there's 99 questions for inventors. That's another great article for inventors. And I wish you happy inventing, and keep on inventing. Even if you don't do anything with your invention, even if it's not commercially feasible, it's still, if it's a great idea, it's a great idea. And if you like it and you had a good time doing it, you've done the right thing. Good luck and happy inventing.